Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we have the meta snapshot for set 13. There are so many comps right now. Like, it took me probably the longest I've ever done to make a meta snapshot just because there are so many comps. So right now, Blackrose is incredibly powerful. I'd say it's the best comp by far. So I wonder if they are going to bring a hotfix soon for it. In the beginning, or like a couple of weeks ago, they said that there wouldn't be a B patch for set 13, but after playing Blackrose, I feel like they have to have one. Let me know if anyone tries the Blackrose comp if they feel the same way, but essentially there are a lot of viable comps right now. I'm adding more as the days go by, but we are going to cover how to play every single one of these comps, including all the hero augments, whether they're good or not, and also all the trait ones that they introduce in this new set. So starting up at the top, Blackrose Flex, S+ for sure. Scrap Corki, I'd say that's going to be in the S tier. The reason why Blackrose is so good is because you could literally flex between like 4 different carries and they all pretty much use the same items. And then Blackrose, the trait, is also just OP right now. In the A tier, we have Kogmaw Scar reroll. I really like the Firelight version. Some people do like the Watcher version, but I think the Firelight one is a bit better. Enforcer Vi, just vertical Enforcer, very solid stuff. You need the emblem. Form Swapper Elise, solid. Elise is just OP right now. If people are thinking about, what's the best champion from the previous set on launch? That was Syndra. So in this set, Elise is a new Syndra. Luckily, it's a 4-cost unit instead of a 2-cost unit, but 1-star Elise in like a lot of different comps works really well. Elise is completely bonkers nuts right now. Experiment, people like Experiment Twitch. I think it's a pretty solid attack damage build. If you're not going Corki, you can't do like the scrap build, then I gotta go with Twitch, you know? He's pretty solid, and 5 Experiment is pretty good if you are able to get there. Sorcerer Zoe, this is a Sorcerer +1 comp, so if you get Sorcerer emblem, it's pretty required to play this in my opinion. It's gonna be really good. You could also reroll Swain and Nami if you want. Pit Fighter Vi, solid comp right now. Vi is just pretty good in general. So if you complement her with the Pit Fighter trait, going deep into that, it's going to be good, especially if you have the emblem. Visionary Heimerdinger, pretty solid comp. Emblem is actually not required for this. People are going like 4 Visionary. And Heimerdinger in general is just like a very solid AP carry right now. Like if Elise wasn't so OP, Heimerdinger would probably be one of the better, if not the best AP carry, you know, but Elise is OP right now, so Heimerdinger is taking a backseat there. Academy Heimerdinger, also very solid. Academy is great because it gives you a lot of items so that you could go for like multiple carries. Tristana reroll, I'll add this soon. And then lastly, we have Rebel Zoe. I forgot to add a couple of comps here. Form Swapper Gangplank is also really good in the top here. And then we have some TBD comps in the bottom here. I'm going to be adding those throughout the week, but in the B tier, we have family. And then for special comps, special and not special, this is a new introduction to the tier list. These are essentially all the comps that require like a augment, like a hero augment, the trait augments, built different, things like that. So special means gonna be good. You can play them. You don't need a crazy spot for them, although you do want like at least a decent spot, right? And then not special means it's not very good. But if you have an absolutely bonkers start, like let's say you're going Crimson Pact Vladimir and for some reason you have like 5 Vladimirs already, then yeah, it's going to be good, especially if you have good items for it, right? But I would mainly stay with the top section over here if you really want to play a lot of these augments. But right now, Mad Chemist, pretty good. I'd say this is the best hero augment. Trait Reunion, that's the one with Echo and Vi. Menaces, that's the one with Silco and Powder. Why not both? That's the 2 tanky augment, but it's only working with Form Swapper, so that's with Gangplank and stuff. And since like Gangplank and Swain are both good already, why not both is also very solid. And then in the not special, Crimson Pact Vladimir, it's okay. Brutal Revenge Renni, not that great. Gloves Off Vander, okay. Combat Medic Steb, better things to do. What could have happened? Martial Law, Unlikely Duo. These 3 trait things, they can work, but I think you need a lot of the copies of the units already. Blade Dance Irelia, okay. Trolling Trundle, this is where we start getting into like the kind of bad stuff. Trait Tracker, pretty bad right now. Trait Tracker is actually one of the worst augments, I think. I hope this works, Powder. It's okay if you're doing like a family build already, but if you're not already doing that, I don't really want to do this. Traits Sisters, not that great. Geniuses, not that great. And Built Different. Built Different's god-awful. Don't click it right now. It's weird. I checked the data for Built Different, and normally Built Different is really good at the start of sets. Or not like really good, but it's like pretty good. And the fact that it is doing awfully right now means that it is like super awful. at least in my opinion. But let's go on into how to play some of these comps though. We're gonna start off with Blackrose. There are actually like 4 different versions of this comp right now, but the base version of the comp is just 5 Blackrose for all of them, and then you add in an AP carry. So your 4 options for AP carry are gonna be Elise, Zoe, Silco, and Heimerdinger. So you have 4 options here. They all can use the same items. If you put Shojin, Nashor's Archangels, or like Gunblade on all 4 of them, it's gonna work. Like, yeah, blue buff is better on Heimerdinger, but at the end of the day, if you just have these 3 items, you could flex between all 4 of them. So if you build Shojin in the early game, you don't have to worry about anything too much, and you pretty much just play 5 Blackrose plus whoever your carry is, and then fill in some random traits for them. So let's say you're playing Zoe, you just swap all the items onto your Zoe. I'll take these 2 out for simplification, and then you just need to add a Sorcerer because you have 3 out of 4 Sorcerers. So literally add in anyone. Obviously, you're going to prefer Nami or Swain. And if you put in Nami, take out the Garen so you still get Emissary, and then you're going to be good to go. If you're doing Heimerdinger, you add in Visionary, so just type in Visionary over here. Take out the Zoe, and then play Heimerdinger, and then play like a Malzahar and Nunu or something like that. Nunu also gives Bruiser to Elise. So there are a lot of different things you could do here. Just play 5 Blackrose, whichever 4 cost carry you 2-star first, play around that, drop the anomaly on them, and then find them complementary traits. Really, really simple to do. If you want to be cringe, just force this comp every single game. I'll show you how nuts the data is for this right now. 5 Blackrose, which you don't need any emblems for, is 2.98. Just think about that for a moment. Even 4 Blackrose, that's the one without LeBlanc, you have a 4.56. Like, you don't need the emblem to make it work, and it's just so powerful, and you could flex between any carry in the backline. Like, yeah, just play this comp. Oh yeah, I also updated this a little bit. Like, if you want to know who uses the anomaly, it's on the team planner, but I also talk about it down here. If you want full information on like how to play and all the items, my recommended's up here, and then replacements in the second row. Head on over to the website bunnymuffins.lol/meta. I'll be updating this throughout the week, so check it often, but I think there will be a B patch, so I will be updating for that too. Next comp up we have is Scrap Corki. People like going 6 Scrap with this. I like only playing it with the Scrap emblem, but you could also play it without it. It goes from like maybe S- A+ tier to like SS+ if you have the emblem or not. And what I like about this image a lot is that I show like different components you could put on people, because Scrap allows you to transform one of your components into a full item. So for example, if you put a bow on Corki, it'll turn into either like a Runon's, maybe like a Titan's Resolve, maybe like a red buff. It's just any item that can be built from the bow, which is really nice. So Corki likes bow or sword. Rumble, anything works on him, honestly. Echo really likes the rod. Trundle, anything that's tanky. Gangplank, sword is probably best on him, and then Powder likes the tier. You could also put Scrap Emblem on one of your units. For example, you could drop Scrap Emblem on Elise, give her a rod if you want her in the backline to carry. If you want her in the front line, let's say you have a lot of other backline damage dealers and you need more tanks, you could put a tank scrap item on Elise. So a lot of different things you could do. Right now, backline Elise is better than frontline Elise in like most comps, but obviously, even if that is true, sometimes you need the front line. So you could adapt your Elise because she's a form swapper, depending on what you need that game. But standard leveling for this, Corki is going to be your main carry. Just put generic attack damage items on him, Echo, like AP items, some survivability items, so you could do like Edge Knight, Crown Guard, things like that, maybe some lifesteal. And then on your tanks, like any tank items. Like sometimes you want Elise up front to tank, just put like Warmogs on her or something like that. Warmogs, Declaw, Bramble, never can go wrong with that. But yeah, pretty simple standard leveling comp for this. Next one up we have is going to be Kogmaw Scar reroll. Kogmaw and Scar don't really share any traits together. Scar is a Firelight Watcher, Kogmaw is an Automata and Sniper, but you can kind of still play them together because they're both 3-cost units, and they just work out really well because some of the other units that they play together share a few traits. I'm really liking the Firelight version of this build. I think that one's doing the best. You don't even need the Firelight emblem to make it work. It's just nice if you have it. And then you could also itemize Zeri in a lot of those cases. But play at least 4 Watcher. There's also like the 6 Watcher version down here. Both versions are viable. It just depends on what you're hitting that game. So if you're getting a lot of Watchers, obviously go for Watcher. If you get the Echo, then go for the Firelight version. But you essentially just want to go for a 3-cost reroll for this strategy, and that just revolves around going to level 7 as safely and quickly as possible, and then rolling down to 50 gold every single turn to try to get copies of Scar and Kogmaw, and then eventually get 3-star Kogmaw and Scarp. Items on Kogmaw are going to be blue buff Archangels, Hextech Gunblade. That's like the best item combo, but there obviously are replacements. Some people like using like Rageblade. I've seen some people use Shojin, but he can use a lot of stuff. Like AP items also work too. Scar, I like having the Ionic Spark on him just so you get that effect from somewhere, and then just full tank items. 3-cost tanks that are 3-star are super powerful, so even if you have a utility item on him, such as the Ionic Spark, he's still going to live for like a pretty decently long time. Watcher version, you just replace the Firelights with 6 Watcher, pretty simple there. And one key thing to note is that you should only play this comp if it's uncontested, because it's almost impossible to hit 3-star Scar and Kogmaw if someone else is also going for the comp. Next build up, we have is Enforcer, Vi, and Caitlyn. So this one is going to just be a vertical Enforcer comp. Vertical comp just means you go very deep into a trait. So some traits are like 3, 5, 7. If you only go like 3 of that trait, that's considered like not a vertical. But if you go 7, that's a vertical. So Enforcer is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If you go like 6+, I'd say that's like a vertical trait. But you pretty much put all your enforcers into the team planner, and then you're going to be good to go. Just buy all those units. You add in like Mbessa. She provides a couple of traits that you want. She's also like a pretty solid unit herself. And then Savika for pit fighter, or just any pit fighter to activate your Vi, because Vi will be the main carry. You want to anomaly Vi. If you get Caitlyn and you can guarantee Caitlyn 2-star, then yeah, you can anomaly Caitlyn, but in most games, like we can only play around our 4 costs, right? I'm not so lucky to hit 2-star 5 costs every game, right? You want to be putting the anomaly on your Vi. Even if you can get Caitlyn 2-star, there's still an argument to anomaly your Vi, because if you have a 2-star Vi already, you're going to like dominate everyone and you're going to save a lot of HP, which will allow you to go level 9 a lot easier. So there are arguments for both ways, but I'd say like 80-90% of the time you want to anomaly your Vi. There's not really a 4-cost tank that you can anomaly either, so you're pretty much going for a damage one in this build. But yeah, just go 8 Enforcer. You want to get your carries on the same side a lot of times, so sometimes you want Savika on the same side because you want to focus down units, whoever their highest HP unit is. That way they kill the Enforcer unit, get the buff, and then like hopefully kind of snowball the fight. But for items, just generic attack damage items on Caitlyn. All sorts of combos work, like IE versus Deathblade. Like, does it make a difference? Yes. Is it a big difference? No. It's like if I run on the treadmill at like 5.8 miles per hour instead of like 6 miles per hour for like a certain amount of time. It's like it's not going to make that much of a difference, but there is a small difference. Vi, you just put generic frontline bruiser items on her, Edge of Night, Bloodthirster, and Titans, and yeah, that's going to be it for that. Next comp up we have is Form Swapper Elise. Form Swapper Elise just works because Elise is OP right now. You just put AP items on her, Shojin plus 2 APs. I like Nashers and Archangels. Some people like Morello, lots of different options there. Morello's good because she shoots out 4 spiders, and so they hit a lot of different targets. Main tank's going to be Garen, and then you just want to play 4 Form Swapper. That's going to be Jace, Elise, Swain, and Gangplank. It's not really too important where you put them. I like having Jace in the front line, though, provides me more tankiness, and then my Elise with their Archangels kind of stacks up because you have a lot of tanks in this comp, so then that's why I like the Archangel. For primary tank, it's going to be Garen. Just throw all your tank items on him, and yeah, you're going to be good to go because Elise is OP right now. Anomaly Elise or Garen, and yeah, like not too much to say there. Next comp up we have is Experiment Twitch. Twitch is, again, I said this before, like the go-to AD carry if you can't get Corki, and he works in a weird way. So for experiment hexes, there's typically 1 in the front line, 1 in the back line if you have 3 experiment. And then if you get 5 experiment, the other one is going to be on some other spot on the board. For Twitch, though, you want to give him just generic backline items. I like Red Buff a lot because he shoots penetrating bolts that goes through units. So Red Buff makes a ton of sense, right? Because Zyra gives a burn on her experiment bonus, I'm pretty sure, and then because of that, he's hitting everything. They can't heal back up. So it's like a really, really good combo to have Red Buff on Twitch. Some people like Rageblade, so Rageblade is also a good replacement for Red Buff because it gives a lot of attack speed. And then Last Whisper IE, you can't go wrong with that. IE is good because if you read Twitch's ability, he replaces his auto attacks with the bolts. So I don't think they can crit without IE because normally attacks can crit, but I think it changes his ability a little bit. So that's one thing to note on Twitch. Mundo's going to be the main tank. Just generic tank items on him will work. Add in Dominator so that he gets like a little more tanky. I think he gives a shield. But 5 experiment, add in the snipers. Some people like running 4 sniper, but I think the 5 experiment version is a lot better on Twitch. You could always data check it on teamfight.lol. Just go to Explorer, type in Twitch over here, and then go to like traits. And you can compare 5 experiment, 3.81 versus 4 sniper, 4.11, like both pretty solid, right? But nothing that crazy. By the way, data is like very biased at the start of the set, because if you look at like Plat Plus, for example, a lot of people there are like winning a lot of their games. That's why they are in Platinum, because right now Platinum is one of the higher ranks. By the time, if you watch this tomorrow or the day after, it might be Diamond or even Master. But essentially, like, that's why I like looking at this average placement number over here. It tells you what the average placement is for all the games in that rank. And so 4.19 is the average, so that means 4.11 is still above average, but it's nothing insane, right? But if the average was 4.5, obviously 4.11 would be extremely, extremely good. So that's what I like about teamfight.lol for data checking. No other sites do this at the moment. They'll probably copy it soon, right? But just know teamfight.lol was the first to do it. So the weird thing about Experiment is that it's really hard to get Experiment +1, the emblem, because there's no augment for it right now. But it's weird. You could get it like randomly, I'm pretty sure, because I have seen the item, but it is a really good one if you do get it magically. But that's pretty much all there is to this comp. Next comp up we have is Sorcerer Zoe. This is a vertical Sorcerer comp. You want to go for 8 Sorcerer and only play this if you have Sorcerer emblem. Like we've had Sorcerer trait in the past a lot. Sometimes it's called like Arcanist. It's all the same trait. You just give your units a lot of ability power, and like, yeah, it's pretty good, right? But it's always a 2, 4, 6, 8, and 6 is almost never good unless you have the trait augment that does not give the +1. This one is called like Arcanist something or Arcane something. So that's the only time I would play it if you have 6 Arcanist. But most of the other times you want to have the emblem, go for 8, and get your power spike there. So there are 2 ways to play this. You could play with either Zoe carry or Nami carry. Some people like going for 3-star Nami, 3-star Swain. Very solid option. But I like the Zoe version a little bit more because I need to get LeBlanc to get to 8 Sorcerer. So I prefer just like power leveling up to level 8, get Zoe 2, and then go level 9 for LeBlanc, because 8 Sorcerer is a big power spike, right? If you go for 3-star Swain, 3-star Nami, you're going to be spending so much gold on level 7 that you're probably not hitting LeBlanc, which means you're probably not hitting 8 Sorcerer that game. So that's why I like going for Zoe. In terms of item holders for the Sorcerer emblem, Mordekaiser or Elise are going to be the go-tos. Elise is good because she gives Blackrose. Mordekaiser's good because he gives Conqueror, and he's also just like Mordekaiser. He uses the emblem pretty well. But generic tank items on Swain, it's going to be like Crown Guard, Ionic Spark, things like that. Zoe, generic AP in the back. But in Sorcerer, because you get so much ability power from the trait, you want to get like a mana item for sure, as per usual, but then like crit item is a little bit better, and then Nashers to cast more is a little bit better too. Whenever you have a trait that gives a lot of one stat, you always want to fill out the other stats with your items. So that's one thing to note on Zoe. And I'll probably be playing this comp quite a bit if I ever do get the Sorcerer emblem, probably just hard force it there. Next comp up we have is Pit Fighter Vi. Oh, and as for augments, like on most of the comps I have like augments on the right side, and I also recommend augments down here. Like obviously you want all the trait augments, combat augments, those are the ones that buff up your team. I'll make a distinction between like combat, item, and like fast 8 augments. Like some comps they want a lot of items. This comp you don't really need too many. It's mainly just your main tank and Zoe. In the late game, you'll get items from Mordekaiser and LeBlanc if you get things off the Carousel and things like that. So you don't really need the item augments to make them work, because they are legendary units that are most likely going to be 1-star. But other comps, such as like Pit Fighter Vi, maybe you want to itemize Mbessa, Vi, and sometimes Gangplank, because Gangplank's pretty good right now. Savika, if you get her in the late game, obviously too. But Pit Fighter Vi, pretty solid comp. It's weird. Vi, in a lot of her comps, she likes being in like the second row so that she doesn't get targeted first. I think in the Pit Fighter, for 6 Pit Fighter, there's a lot of survivability you get from this trait, and you could just go like perma-sustaining with like a Bloodthirster. So I like putting Vi in the front line here, and then putting like a Pit Fighter emblem on the Mbessa. So this is just a generic like standard leveling, get to level 8 as fast as possible, and build a lot of frontline items or like bruiser items. So like Bloodthirster, Sterix Gauge, Titan's Resolve, Edge and Knight, Quicksilver, Hand of Justice. All those items are just going to be perma-spammed on this comp, and then you have like so many units that can use it. You have Vi, Mbessa, Savika. You could probably even do it on Urgot, things like that. So just play this comp when you have a lot of those. So like Unleash the Beast, which is a Sterix augment, and Not Today, which is the Edge and Knight augment. Both really, really good. A lot of support items are good with this comp. Pretty much when you play a melee comp, support items are going to be really, really, really good. The reason why is because most support items buff up like your frontline damage dealers a ton. So if you ever get the option for support items, like just go for this comp and it's not going to regret it at all. Next build up we have is going to be Visionary Heimerdinger. Visionary Heimerdinger is one of the first versions of Heimerdinger we're going to see. This one's 6 Visionary, but a lot of people play 4 Visionary too. With the emblem, you want to do 6 Visionary, but without it, you could easily drop down to 4. Like for example, we don't have Malzahar all the time because he's a legendary unit. So you could flex in Academy units or Sentinel units. So you could drop in the Leona for 3 Sentinel and then add in another one. Maybe you want to drop in a Loris and then drop in one more Academy if you have the room for it. Maybe like a Jace or something like that. So lots of different options there for like who you want to put in if you do not have the Visionary emblem. But if you do have it, drop it on Elise. You could backline her, frontline her, doesn't really matter. In this version you see here, I like her in the front line because we have so many people in the backline already. I don't want too many people in the backline because then you don't have enough tankiness to your team, but she does work really, really well with it. So let's say you don't have like LeBlanc or something like that. Just backline your Elise, drop some AP items on her, and she's going to be blasting a lot of people. And then you play like maybe some Sentinels up front because you don't have the Scion for tanking. Items for Heimerdinger are going to be the blue buff, Archangel, Hextech Gunblade combo. Pretty much always uses this item combo really, really well. Alawi, generic tank items in the front, Steadfast Heart, Warmogs, Redemption. You could do like solo frontline with a Stoneblade sometimes. Pretty much anything works there. For Anomaly, going to be Heimerdinger, then Alawi. I think Heimerdinger is too good in this because you're buffing him up with a lot of Visionary. Alawi doesn't benefit from Visionary. But if you have a 2-star Alawi and a 1-star Heimerdinger and you have 3 items on Alawi already, just Anomaly the Alawi. So it's always going to depend. I'm going to be coming out with an Anomaly guide in the next couple of days, so do look out for that if you are interested in learning how to use the Anomaly, when to re-roll it, things like that. So subscribe if you have not already, and also share this video with a friend if you want to support the channel. A lot of people like in the past have asked me like, oh, like can I like donate money to you, or like some people gave me like $10 here and there, and I'm just like, it's great, right? Like I'm not going to say no to free money, but one person was on disability and they were giving me money, and I was like, don't give me money if like you need the money to survive, right? So the best way to support me that's even better than giving money is to actually just share the video with other people who are getting into TFT or are already playing TFT. And the best part about it is that it's free to do and anyone can do it. So next comp up we have is Academy Heimerdinger. This one's going to be built around like 3 to 5 Academy. It depends if your Academy items are good or not. There's like a layout on like which Academy items come out based on the first one. So you have to judge around that on whether you should go deeper into the Academy trait. So if you can make use of the items, great. If not, don't do it. One thing to note, if you're using your like thinking cap right now, is since you get a lot of items from the Academy trait, that means that combat augments are generally going to be a bit better in this build because you already have so many items. If you get an item augment, you're going to be overflowing with items, in which case they're not going to be effective. For example, if you have like infinite items in this comp, like if you put a tank item on Irelia or a damage item on Lux, they're not really going to do that much with it, right? Because they're 1-cost units. You want to focus the power on like Alawi, Heimerdinger, and maybe like a legendary like Jace. So since you already get so many items from the Academy trait, you'll be able to fill all of them up, and therefore you want a lot of combat augments so that they get stronger, or like an econ augment so you could hit the comp more consistently. I'm going to be coming out with an augment guide as well in the future with the Anomaly guide, so definitely look out for that too. But yeah, just standard fast 8 comp for this. Drop in Academy units, Anomaly, Heimerdinger, or Alawi, but I like doing Heimerdinger, and I talk more about the comp down here. Next build up we have is going to be Rebel Zoe. Rebel Vertical is okay. It's not the best comp. We're starting to get into like the lower part of the A tier. Rebel Zoe is going to work really well if you're going to be able to get the emblem. Like I wouldn't play this without the emblem. Typically, again, for vertical comps, you want to only play it with the emblem. So anything that's like 6+ trait, you'll want an emblem. 5, it's like you could go either or, but 4 and below, you don't need it unless it's like a baby trait such as Firelight. But Firelight 3 works also, you know, because if you need the units, you need the units. But this build works pretty similarly to the last build in the sense of you just want AP items on Zoe and tank items on Alawi. If you get Jinx in the late game, she's going to be your insurance policy. And then for the item holder for the Rebel emblem, just drop it on Elise. Anomaly, it could be Alawi or Zoe. I actually like doing it on Alawi because she benefits a lot from the 7 Rebel, and also You have two primary damage dealers in Jinx and Zoe, while you only have like one main tank in Alawi. So that's why I like having the anomaly on the Alawi to kind of like balance out my team, get more tankiness, because we already have so much DPS in the backline. Items for Zoe, just like generic AP items, 1 mana regen and then 2 APs. Alawi, you do want the magic shred because Zoe's your primary carry and you want the magic shred, but you could put a static shiv on like your Nami or Ezreal if you want, and then go 3 full tank items on Alawi. Next build up we have is Form Swapper, Gangplank, and Swain. We're going to be going over 2 versions of this because there's the regular one with 4 Form Swapper, and then there's also the one with Why Not Both, and that only runs 2 Form Swapper, but it runs multiple GPs and Swains. But essentially this is just a 3-cost reroll, classic comp. You want to get like 1 or 2 reroll augments to complement your team, or like a prismatic one, and then get 3-star Swain, 3-star Gangplank, full tank items, solo frontline Swain, backline Gangplank, Shojin, Last Whisper, IE, because he's like a caster, gonna be pretty solid. And then just throw in random traits that complement your Gangplank. So that's gonna be Pit Fighter in this case. This build is a little tricky to play because in order to get to 4 Form Swapper, you need Jace. So you need a lot of econ for this comp, unfortunately. But it is very powerful if you do hit. It's kind of like a go big or go home comp. Not really like a top 4 comp in my opinion. Like you either hit it, you get the 3-star Gangplank and the 3-star Swain, and you get a Jace. Like a lot of things have to go right for this comp, but again, if you do hit it, you're going to be doing pretty well in a lot of your games. Next build we have up is going to be the B tiers. We have Family there. Family, it's only good if you get like 5 Family right now. 4 Family's okay. Like we could check the data on this, right? Go to stats, traits, and then type in Family over here. Like 4 Family is okay, 4.35, but like the average is 3.83, so that's pretty bad, right? Like you pretty much can only do it with 5 Family, and that requires 2 emblems, so I'm like, yeah, not that great. B tier, maybe C tier even, but like if you high roll everything and get all the 3 stars for free, then yeah, it's gonna be like A tier, right? So that's why I put it in the B tier, because if you do hit everything, it is very, very good. I think the main key is building Thieves Gloves for Vander and Violet, because they do get to 3-star, but they're not buffed up to an incredibly strong point, and they can make use of a lot of different items. So it allows you to prioritize your Draven and Powder items, and perhaps even one of the 4 costs later on. But this is just like a 1 and 2 cost reroll build. We'll probably talk more about this build once it gets a bit better, because right now they're much better comps. But I do have like a pretty long description for this, ironically enough, because I thought it was a very fun comp to play before, so I like experimented around with it a little bit. Next build up we have are the special tiers. So we're going to go over all the hero augments and all the trait augments and like the why not build difference of the worlds, things like that. But we have Mad Scientist Singe first. I think it's actually called Mad Chemist, but whatever the case, like we got the Singe hero augment here. He is so good because you put a Morello on him, he runs around the map and he applies a Morello buff to everyone. Slap an Archangels and Hextech Gunblade on him. A great thing about him is unlike other AP carries, he doesn't need the mana item, so you get to go like 3 great items on him, and that's exactly what we're doing here. 6 Sentinel going to be the way to go because you want him to live as long as possible. I like putting him in the second row so he doesn't get targeted right away, and you have so many Sentinels that like they kind of absorb everything. You do need a secondary carry, but Zoe is great for that because she throws the bouncing thing, right? And when she does that, like the people that Singe hit, it's like such a good combo, right? Because like she finishes off the people that Singe kind of burns down slowly. As for other units to itemize, like getting Irelia tank items if she's 3-star, sure. Alawi tank items if you get her 2-star, sure. But mainly you just 1-cost reroll, hit this around stage like 4-1 latest. Preferably you hit this during sometime in stage 3, and then you just power level, add in more Sentinels, add in the Rebels if you need, and a secondary carry. But yeah, pretty simple comp to play, just like a hero augment comp. Reunion, Echo, and Vi. This one's going to be playing around Firelight, and I like this comp a lot because both Echo and Vi kind of complement each other pretty decently. They're both 4-cost units, so they're at the same cost level, so you could find them pretty easily. And it's consistent because unlike the legendary trait augments, where it's hard to like 2-star them, even though you get a free copy of one of them, like getting 2-star 4-cost is pretty reliable in most games. That's why I think this one does pretty decently. For items, you just want generic frontline items on them. And fun fact, I know they removed augment data, but if you go to traits and then you type in whatever it is, like for the trait one's Reunion here, you could check the data on it. So like 3.99, pretty solid. Like Martial Law, 3.85, pretty solid. Unlikely Duo, like 4.29, but the average placement right now is 3.83. So you could kind of just data check these weird things, which is really nice still. But yeah, you pretty much just play Echo and Vi, and the way you build your board is you just play the traits around them. So Firelight is going to be great. You add in Scar, add in Zeri, and then you get Enforcer and Sniper through Caitlyn, so that's really nice. So I'd say that's like the base of the comp, and then you just want to add in other stuff that kind of helps people out. So Vi needs Pit Fighter, so you get Savika there, or any other Pit Fighter. Then you want Ambusher for Echo, like Jinx is a great option for that. Obviously, they're legendary units, so you could go for other ones too, but they're really just there to be trait bots. And then lastly, you need some tanks, and you have Scar already, so just add in a Garen, get some Watchers in there, and have them tank a little bit. But decently solid comp. Augments that help you go wide, such as I think it's like Bronze for Life is what it's called. It like counts how many bronze traits that you have, and you get bonuses based on that, is pretty good whenever you play this. But the weird thing about these trait augments is that they only show up on stage 4 too, so you can't plan around this. So like you already picked all your augments, so you don't need like an augment guide whenever you play these comps, which I think is pretty funny. Next build up we have is going to be Menaces, Powder, and Silco, which is a 1 and 4 cost combo, so it's a little bit weird. This one shows up on stage 3 too, I believe, and you want to do a 1 cost reroll whenever you do this. So only take this if you have like a 2-star powder before taking the augment, because on stage 3-2 we're already level 5. We can't do like a big roll down for powder 3-star at level 4. So having a 2-star powder already with items and then getting another 2-star powder makes it really, really powerful, because then you don't have to like grief your game trying to look for powder 3, right? And you also get the Silco for free. One thing to note about this trait augment is that it's one of the unique ones where only one of the units get buffed, only Powder gets buffed, like you don't care about Silco at all, whereas all the other trait augments, both of them get some sort of benefit. So you want to focus everything you have on Powder. So like Anomaly on Powder, 100% required. The best one is going to be the one that makes her into a 4-star unit. And also note that it changes her trait from Family to Dominator. So even though it says 5 Dominator over here, you're actually at 6 Dominator when you play this board. After that, drop a Static Shiv on Silco. He's just a utility unit. You obviously could put more stuff on him later on, but it really depends what items you get. So you could play like Echo secondary carry or Silco secondary carry, depending on if you get frontline or backline AP items. For the tanks, it's obviously going to be Mundo as a main tank, because he is a Dominator and he's the Dominator tank at 4 cost, but you could also use Blitzcrank if you don't have Mundo yet. So put your items on Blitzcrank. Once you get Mundo 2-star, item remove the Blitzcrank, put it on Mundo. And then Mordekaiser is kind of like your late game insurance policy. But one important thing about Powder in this build is that she needs to cast as many times as possible. So you need 3 items on her that help her cast. You don't really need stuff like an Archangels. You don't really need a Rabadons. You need her to just have mana items. So Shojin, obviously really good. Some people even do double Shojin. Nashor's is good because once she casts, she gets more attack speed so that she could cast again. Adaptive Helm, also pretty solid. So lots of different options there. Actually, not many options, because I told you all the mana regen options. And you pretty much want to cap that out on your powders. Again, you want her to cast as many times as possible. Next build up we have is the Why Not Both Gangplank and Swain. This is the new 2 tanky augment, and it really only works on form swappers. So 2 copies of Swain, 2 copies of Gangplank. You want to be placing the Gangplank in the back line, that's 3-star, and the Swain, that's 3-star in the front line. And then you can anomaly either your Swain or Gangplank, doesn't matter who. But items on Gangplank is the same as in the other build, just Shojin, Last Whisper, IE, Swain, any tank items will do. And then you add in Conqueror. So instead of going for form swapper, you go Conqueror because it's a bit more consistent. The other form swappers, like getting Jace legendary is quite hard to do. So that's why people play this version. Just make sure you have at least like 2 Pit Fighter and some Conqueror for Swain. You'll be more than good to go. I'm sure 4 Form Swappers still does really, really well. It's just harder to get because you're spending all your gold re-rolling for Swain 3, Gangplank 3. Next build up we have is Martial Law with Mbessa and Caitlyn. This one's going to be one of those Enforcer builds. So you could literally play this if you already are going 8 Enforcer. I forgot where the build is over here. Like, they're pretty much the same build. You have this one, and then you have the one all the way down here. And that's the main reason why this comp is good. It's because you're already going the same units. So if you're already having a +1 Enforcer, going for this one is a no-brainer because you could get to 8 Enforcer really, really easily. And you could buff up Mbessa with the Enforcer emblem and also anomaly her and be good to go from there. By the way, for all these trait augments, like some of them, like look at the requirements I list out, because it's pretty important. Like they're going to be really good or really bad depending on it. So even if I say something's in the not special tier, if you get 2 2-star 4 costs, if you take the augment, like it has to be good, right? But if you have like no copies of the units or maybe only 1 copy, then it can't be good even if it's like in the better tier. So that's kind of one thing to keep in mind there. But when I go for this, I like to have at least one copy of Mbessa, and maybe I'm already going Enforcers because they pretty much use all those units here. But Caitlyn in the backline, generic ADC item. Some people like putting a Shojin on Caitlyn. It doesn't really matter. I haven't seen too much of a difference because like for legendaries, you don't get to be too picky about the items. I'd rather prioritize my Mbessa, and for that, it's going to be like the frontline generic melee bruiser package of Sterex, Bloodthirster, Titans. Obviously, Edge and Knight works too. Lots of different stuff you could kind of play around with there. Next build up we have is going to be the not special tier. Again, these are still playable, but you need like a lot more going for you in order to play them. First one we're going to cover is going to be Vladimir. He's essentially Galio from last set. You want to do like the Rageblade build on him. So he does work in like a slightly different way, I think. I've seen people do like full attack speed builds with like red buff and static shiv. Maybe it's a double Rageblade Hextech Gunblade build that needs to be done on Vladimir, but he's okay right now. Nothing crazy, nothing too horrible. But not like the best thing ever either. I think we need to experiment around with other item combos on him to find like his true space in the meta. But you just want to go five, like this is the issue with Vladimir. You don't know if he's okay because 5 Blackrose is OP, because in a meta where Blackrose sucks, maybe he's not that playable at all, you know? So maybe they need to buff this augment a little bit after they nerf Blackrose to kind of keep it more viable. Or maybe you play like full Sorcerers, or maybe you play like full Watcher on him, you know? But complement this with a couple of Sorcerers, give him some bonus AP, and yeah, like okay build, like not the best. Like only play this if you have lots of Vladimirs and Vladimir items already. Brutal Revenge Renni. This one's going to be one of the few 3-cost augments, or maybe the only 3-cost hero augment. But you just slam 6 bruisers with this, do a Renni and Nunu 3-cost reroll. Do generic frontline bruiser items on Renni, BT, Sterex, and Titans, and then Nunu as a utility tank. Redemption going to be really good in any bruiser comp. Sunfire, they take so long to die, so it's pretty good to kind of just burn people down slowly. And then if you want a secondary carry, you could do either like Vi or a Gangplank or Elise. Maybe Elise in the backline would be preferred here. Depends what items you get. But I focus more on my Renni and Nunu, so I don't really pay attention to the other units as much here. But yeah, pretty decent comp there. Gloves off Vander. This one's going to be another family build, but a little bit different because family builds ironically use Draven carry the most. So you want to focus on Vander and Draven. So do a 1-cost reroll into a 2-cost reroll whenever you do this. And items that work really well on Vander is just the generic frontline bruiser items as per usual. Like this package just works on so many types of units. So if you ever don't know what to build in the early game, like it's not a bad idea to just like slam like Titans BT, for example. But add in 3 family, 4 Watcher, you're good to go there. Next build up we have is Combat Medic Steb. 6 bruiser build, so same rules as the other bruiser build. Like your secondary carry probably could be Elise in the backline or someone else. Like just make sure you have 2 different carries. But instead of the generic frontline bruiser package, you want to focus it a little bit more on AP, because Steb is an AP unit, not an AD. So you could throw a jeweled gauntlet there. Maybe like a Crown Guard wouldn't do too badly on him, or an Ionic Spark. But just do 1-cost reroll for this. Next build up we have is What Could Have Been. This is a trait augment for Vander and Silco. Vander's going to be your main tank. You can only take this if you have a 2-star Vander before taking the augment. It's the same argument as before. It's like you need the 3-star Vander, and if you just don't have any copies of him before, you just won't have the econ to find him 3-star. So you only want to take him in those cases. Go for Dominators and Watchers here. I like going 4 Dominator, 4 Watcher, and then AP items on Silco in the back. We'll have to see how this trait kind of develops. I don't think it's like that great right now. It's okay. It's not completely garbage. There's some that are completely garbage. If we scroll down a bit, I think Sisters is like really bad. If we type this one in, like 4.5 when the average is 3.83, like yeah, that's not the best, right? But going back up to where we were at, we were going to go over the next comp, which was Unlikely Duo, which is Savika and Jinx. Both are legendary units, so it's a little difficult to play around. Like, ideally, you play this if you have existing copies of Jinx or Savika, but like, it's stage 4-2, you probably don't have that. So that's why I don't really like these legendary augments that much. Like, if you can take these augments without having any existing copies of them, and let's say you have the items of them, I think they would be too OP and then they would nerf it eventually. But then if you do have like a champion duplicator maybe, or like a copy of one of these, then it's like really OP, right? Because you get the 2-star so quickly and then it has to be good, right? So I think these are just like very situational augments. Like you can take them, you could also skip them depending on what units you have. But the way to build this, I think, is going to be with 4 sentinels up front, get some rebels in there, and then just fill in trait synergies. So Savika, you need the pit fighter. Jinx, you need the ambusher, so add an Echo and Vi. It's like a no-brainer. You could use them as like temporary carries as like 2-star 4 costs before you get to 2-star Savika and Jinx. But for anomalies, just pick whoever has more items or whoever's going to be 2-star more easily, because that's going to be the most important factor whenever you're deciding who to anomaly. For items, just like the same items they always use. Savika uses more of an aggressive build in the frontline items. So I like doing the IE Handed Justice combo on her. Pretty much anything works on Jinx, I've realized. Like some people put like Shojin on her, some people put like Red Buff. Any AD item obviously is going to work on Jinx pretty well. I've seen like Deathblade and IE do well. And also like the other random items such as like Giant Slayer, Guardbreaker, things like that. Blade Dance Irelia going to be the next comp. This one's just like a 1-cost reroll with Sentinels. You do need a secondary carry when you play this comp though. So after you do the 1-cost reroll, find Irelia 3-star, Singe 3-star. You could use Singe as like a tank. Definitely go for like 3 rebels because Alawi's also a Sentinel rebel. And the most obvious option is going to be Zoe. So build some AP items for her. You could use like Nami as an item holder in the meantime, or like literally anyone who's AP carry as an item holder before you get Zoe, and then they'll make it work that way. Next build up we have is Trolling Trundle. This one's really fun because I love Trundle as a champion, and like Trolling Trundle, I gotta love the name too. For this one, I like doing a little bit of a different build that compared to the generic melee bruiser items. I like doing the Quicksilver Rageblade BT combo on him, kind of like the Castanen combo from last set. But it's the same thing, 6 bruiser, and then you use a secondary carry such as Elise, but you 1-cost reroll before that. Obviously, you want to anomaly whoever you're putting your hero augment on. And you could also 3-star Steb if you really want, because Steb is also a 1-cost unit. Keep in mind, all these 1-cost hero augments are all silvers, and they only give you 1 copy of the unit. So instead of previous sets where you get a 2-star copy, and oftentimes you only go for 1 3-star, such as like only Trundle, since you only get 1 copy, you probably do like Trundle and Steb in this set. So that's like a little difference between this set and last set. Next comp up we have is I Hope This Works Powder. If you're already going family, this is a decent build to kind of play, but you really just want to focus on Vander and Powder, so you do a 1-cost reroll into a 2-cost reroll. After that, just throw in as many ambushers as possible after you get your 3 family in, so that's going to be like Echo, Smeech, and Jinx, and then put in 1 Watcher for Vander just to make him a little more tanky than he normally would be. And the best one for that is going to be Scar, because Scar gives a stun. So Scar is like a great utility unit. Whenever a 3-cost unit does like a big stun, that unit generally is going to be the most splashable unit in the set. And in this case, it's going to be Scar. Next one up, we have Sisters, Vi, and Jinx. They have to make this one much better, right? Like we already did the data check on this. But I think because of the TV show that's out right now, Arcane, like you got to make this one at least like semi-good, right? At all times. But this is a 4 and 5 cost combo, so I would really only take this if I have at least 1 Vi, ideally 2 Vis, because then you get a Vi 2-star for free. That's pretty much how they're going to be balancing these augments a lot. So let's say you did a fast 8 and you're rolling at 4-1 and then you get 2 Vis, like you see this augment, yeah, just take it, right? Gets you a free Vi 2. Even if the augment's bad, like how bad could it be, right? Then you complement it with the Jinx. So then after that, you need to fill in the trait synergies. So for Jinx, you need Ambusher. So you run Echo, kind of no-brainer there. For Vi, you need Pit Fighter. You drop in Savika if you can find her. If not, you use something like Urgot in the meantime. And then after that, you want an Enforcer with Vi, so you pick Loris. You want some Rebels with Jinx, so you drop in Alawi and Irelia. Pretty straightforward stuff there. For Sentinel makes a lot of sense because Loris, Alawi, and Irelia are all Sentinels, so you just add in 1 more for the 4th one. Rumble obviously is going to be the best one because he's a legendary, but before you get Rumble, you could use any other unit. He also gives you Scrap, so you could put an item component on him or Echo. Next build up we have is going to be Geniuses, Heimerdinger, and Echo. We could data check this one. 4.78, like holy cow, that's really not that great, right? But if you were to play something like this, it'd probably be an academy-based build because you can get a lot of different carries. Like look at all the 4 costs we have here. We have Heimerdinger, we have Echo, we have Mbessa, we have Alawi, we also have Jace and Malzahar. So getting a lot of Academy items is really nice, or even more item augments in general, because you have so many people to itemize in this comp. So that's one thing to keep in mind here. But you want to anomaly either Echo or Heimer, obviously, because they're like the units you're building your entire team around. After that, you want to drop him Ambusher to help out Echo, Visionary to help out Heimerdinger. And same rules apply for this one. These are both 4-cost units, so ideally you already have some copies of Heimerdinger and Echo before you go for this, or maybe you're about to do a big roll down and you're uncontested. According to the data, this comp probably needs to be buffed up a little bit. After that, we have Built Different. I already talked about this a little bit before. Built Different just not in the best spot right now, which is weird because normally I think it does do well, and it's really cool because like you have Emissary, right? So you could put in both Garen and Mbessa, which are both 4-cost units. Keep in mind when you do play Build Different, you could run a lot of duplicate copies of your units. So if you want to put in 2 Elises because she gives an AoE stun, like great. If you have like Elise damage items for AP, and you can drop one of them in the back and have one of them in the front to tank. But pretty much like I didn't put any items on these units because it really depends who you get to 2-star. Like that's the thing about Built Different. It's like easy to play, but you still have to know kind of what you're doing. You need to build like very flexible damage and tank items in order to make it work. So whoever you 2-star as your tank, like you just throw whatever random garbage you have on that unit. Whoever you 2-star as a damage dealer, you throw whatever random garbage you have on that damage dealer. So most people are playing around like Twitch and Corki right now, so you go like AD items on them. But I'm sure you could go AP items and go for Elise, Heimerdinger, Zoe, Silco, things like that. You really just kind of have to flex whoever you hit that game. So that's the good thing about Built Different. Maybe I'm underrating it a little bit too much because I normally really like Built Different comps. But those are going to be all the comps. We went through so many. There are obviously like so many different comps in this set. Again, I think this is like the longest time it took for me to like make every comp, and I'm still missing some. I'm going to be adding in Conqueror, Chem Baron with the Cashout, Dominators, Emissary comp, Ambusher, Camille, Smeech, Nocturne reroll, Tristana reroll. There are a couple other comps too. So do check back on the website often for all the updates, bunnymuffins.lol/meta. And for data checking like some of the trait stuff, because I guarantee you people will find better ways to play the trait augments. You could just go to teamfight.lol, go to traits to check on a lot of them, because like sisters, like they're there already, right? Like even though they took out the augment data, some of them still exist, so it's kind of nice to do there. But I know I talked about a lot of comps. You really should only be focusing on Blackrose. If you just spam Blackrose every single game, I guarantee you'll climb to whatever rank you want. Until they B patch this. I wonder if they will do a B patch. I know Mortdog put out like a bet saying like, oh, if I make a B patch, like I'll give $500 away or something like that. I think he's gonna have to lose 500. I'm not trying to flame him or anything, but like Blackrose is pretty OP right now. Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people figure out different stuff to play. I will be updating this throughout the week and next week as well. But it's going to be a 3-week patch. I forgot to mention that before because of Thanksgiving here in America. So yeah, like if something's that good, I doubt they're going to let it sit for 3 weeks. But just because Blackrose is OP doesn't mean other stuff isn't good. Like obviously if you get the spot for Scrap, for Enforcer, maybe you get a crap ton of Kogmaws, Form Swapper Elise still pretty good. Like Experiment, if you want to go uncontested, Experiment's pretty solid. If you get Sorcerer emblem, go for a Vertical Sorcerer. Like there are other things to go for, but it's just like if you want free wins, just go Blackrose flex. This could have been a 2-minute video instead of like a hour video if I just say just play Blackrose, right? But there are other comps to play, like I promise you. But that's gonna be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I will see you all next time.